Welcome everyone to this special webinar. So this webinar came to be out of the 70th anniversary of ICLAS, the International Council of Laboratory Animal Sciences. And ICLAS invited EARA to do this webinar on transparency, global dialogues on laboratory animal sciences. So we'll have two small introductory talks from Marcel Frageblatt from ICLAS and from Kirk Leach from the European Animal Research Association. So without further ado, I pass the mic to Marcel.
Thank you very much, Nuno. And good morning, everyone, from my side, as I'm in Rio, in Brazil. And good afternoon and good evening, depending where you are. It is my pleasure to introduce this webinar as the current Secretary General of the International Council of Laboratory Animal Science, ICLAS. I welcome all of you to this webinar. Before I introduce the speakers, and I will do that later, I'd like just to say a few words about ICLAS. ICLAS is a truly global, non-governmental scientific organization and has served the international laboratory animal science community since 1956. So we are therefore one of the longest established organizations in this field of laboratory animal science. ICLAS was originally established through an initiative of UNESCO, together with the International Union Biological Science in 1956. It was founded with a clear mission, and that's our mission, to advance both human and animal health by promoting ethical care and responsible use of animals in research worldwide. So in 2026, ICLAS celebrates 70 years. And during this past decade, or 7 decades actually, ICLAS has played a central role in connecting laboratory animal science community globally. So our commitment is to support the global community, and it can be seen through the several initiatives and programs that we have and we support each year. We have educational grants and professional development opportunities, scholarships for a master degree in veterinary science, travel award to EARA meeting, and hopefully next year we will also have a travel award for FELASA meeting, and also financial support for laboratory animal related activities worldwide. One of our newest initiatives is that it's starting this year. It's the development of a globally harmonized performance and outcome-based standards for the care and ethical use of animals in science. So these standards are intended to support high-quality science and at the same time promote animal welfare. So this document will not be connected to any regulation for any single country, but it will provide a broad international framework for harmonization. Members from different organizations, from ALAC and all the Federation of Laboratory Animal Science, and are involved in this work, and we are very excited about the results, the outcome of that in the next years. So I believe this commitment is reflected in today webinars organized by EARA together with ICLAS, and bringing together colleagues from different parts of the world. So we'll have a very nice flavor of information and accents in this webinar to discuss the topic that is essential to the future of laboratory animal science, transparency and openness about use of animals in research. So being open about and why and how animals are used is essential for trust and ensuring that our work continues to move to the future in a responsible and ethical way. So thank you all for joining us today. And thank you, Nuno, thank you, Kirk, and for all the organizing group that put that together. Thank you.
So EARA is honoured to kind of co-host this meeting today. For those who don't know, EARA is, I guess you could say, new kids on the block, although I'm not a new kid, as you can see. EARA has been around for not a lot shorter time than ICLAS. We were created in 2014, mainly to help improve public understanding and political regulatory understanding of the important use of animals for scientific research in Europe. Since then, EARA has become a global organisation. So although we have offices in London, Brussels and Lisbon, we now have a global membership which stretches across like 5 continents. And EARA's kind of main role here, I think, is to try to promote best practice on communications and openness and transparency on the use of animals and research. I know there are a lot of people registered today, and many of you are not from EARA member organisations. We are a membership organisation, so if you're at all interested in knowing more about EARA, please put your details in the chat and we will get back to you. One event for your calendar next year is EARA's second international conference, taking place in Lisbon in November of next year. This is a go-to event if you're interested in understanding how to articulate the use of animals in research, and also how we can improve the public's understanding of why new approach methodologies, working with, sometimes reducing, refining, sometimes replacing animal use are important. So that's one for your calendar. So I hope to see you there.
Okay, thank you both. Now we'll go to our speakers. So Marcel, if you might start the introductions. Marcel, you're muted.
Sorry. Okay, so I will introduce the first 2 speakers. The first one is Mr. Jenny Cupidon. She's head of communication, advocacy, and corporate social responsibility at Charles River in Mauritius. She's responsible for developing and implementing internal and external communication strategies, stakeholder engagement initiatives, advocacy programs, and activities that support the company's business objectives and values. And she will be together with Ms. Anupa Makun. She's the group head of policy, communications, and social responsibility at the Bioculture Group. She also leads the public policy, advocacy, and CSR initiatives, including crisis response and efforts to promote the importance of biomedical research and the responsible use of animals. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marcel. Thank you, Kirk. Thank you, all of you, for the invite. So I'm really happy to be here with Jenny to present to you, I guess, the African perspective. And we'll go to the next slide so you can see a little bit where we're coming from. So Mauritius is a tiny island in the Indian Ocean. It's one of the 55 countries in Africa, and for a continent that has 1.5 billion people, you might be asking yourself, why is it that this tiny island of 1.2 million are the ones representing? So as many of you will know, unfortunately, Africa represents quite a small percentage of all global biomedical research activity, even though it represents about a quarter of the global burden of disease. But we're very proud on our small island of Mauritius that we contribute a very strategic asset to global biomedical research. And that's, we'll go to the next slide, and that's the non-human primate, and specifically the Macaca fascicularis, so the cynomolgus macaques, that were actually introduced to Mauritius in the 17th century by the Dutch, so coming from Southeast Asia. And now we are probably one of the global leaders in supplying NHPs for biomedical research to the United States and Europe, which I think together represent about 70% of all biomedical research activity. So this is our context. This is our vantage point. We're not a context where there's a lot of research activity happening, but we supply this critical asset, and we're going to tell you a little bit about our approach. So we'll go to the next slide, how even as just a supplier of this important animal for biomedical research, I mean, as you know, it's contributed to a lot of key diseases, key sort of medication, whether it's polio, whether it's the COVID vaccine, whether it's Ebola, whether it's cancer treatments. So this is what we provide, but even with just the supply of NHPs, there's a lot to be done in terms of openness, and that's exactly what Jenny will talk about today. So we'll go to the next slide. And before I hand over to Jenny, just want to emphasize that what's probably quite specific about Mauritius and our presentation is that we work as an industry. So I'm here from the Bioculture Group. Jenny's here from Charles River, previously Noveprim Group, which were both Mauritian founded companies at inception. And they started the Sino Breeders Association in 2007, initially very reactive to animal rights activists and sort of trying to defend our position and the importance of what we do, but now going into a much more proactive stance. And that's why Jenny will tell you more about it. So you can go to the next slide, Nuna.
Yes. So good morning and good afternoon to everyone. So at a glance, let's just get right into it, what Mauritius is currently doing. So let's say, as mentioned by Anupa, we are very much proactive and no more reactive as we used to be. So we've started with education, educating the public at large, especially policymakers, but the public. So we started with adverts on specific diseases in Mauritius. Why is that? We did not talk about breeding because we wanted people to saw at the end. It's normal for us like to go to a drugstore to consume all the drugs that are available to us, all the medical equipment, but we don't realize where it comes from. So we've come together with specific adverts that relates to Mauritian. For example, you're going to see we talks about diabetes that is very common in Mauritius. And what we've changed about our way of communication as well is that we have contributed, talked around, advocate. We've got doctors at advocacy, so they contribute to the articles, and this gives value to our voice out there on the market to policymakers, but to the public as well. You'll see that we've also not just been talking about disease, but we've talked also about the new approach methodologies, so that we want the public at large also to be aware that we are looking forward as well to new methods that are on the market. We are also very engaged with the government. There are public events that happen in Mauritius. Just giving an example, for example, themes under National Research Week, Science Week, or we often have some fireside chat along with embassies, government. These did not used to exist before. And the theme are to ensure that awareness is being created regarding the biosector, regarding research, and the industry. Sino Breeders Association, members of the industry were invited to talk, to be panelists on these events, and these ensure that there is a continuous messaging that is going through to the audience in Mauritius. And just a last glance at this one, we're also very present at the grassroots level through sometimes the CSR activities, doing presentation, so that people are aware of how the business is regulated, how we are really caring for the breeding for research. One of the best events, maybe we'd go to the next slides now, that we want to focus on today, So there has been a conference last year, and we're going to elaborate a bit on that because it's the very first conference in Mauritius. And this was hosted and known as the Primate Management Conference. And I'm mentioning that it's the very first because knowing that the primate industry in Mauritius, breeding, has existed since 40 years. And it's the very first time that we are being very open about it, going out upfront with an open conference. So this conference brought together an international group of scientists. We had academicians, we had the private sectors, we had the industry leaders, and especially people from the public sector. And that was the very first in Mauritius. So the theme was from care to cure, from care, from the breeding industry that we are, cure at the end, where we talk about the patients. So just in terms of context, for once in Mauritius, the scientists came to us. It's not us who had to go abroad, and this was something that was very innovative. Just to name a few, we had delegates from the University of Minnesota, Johns Hopkins, Anderson Cancer Center. So this was very impactful, especially for a small island as Mauritius. I want to give a context how this conference happened to come to such a small island. Normally, we've got the Primates Behavioral Management Conference, which is an annual conference hosted in the US. And this is hosted by the Michael Keeling Center and the University of Texas Anderson Cancer Center. And this conference, normally it brings the leading experts in the primate behavioral management. And as explained by Anupa earlier, the importance of exporting of primate is very consequential for Mauritius. So it was normal that at one point we decided to co-host an event because we're exporting more than 65 to the US, more than 35 to the European countries. So hosting this event seemed the next best things to do so that we could shed light on how Mauritian primates are contributing to biomedical research. Let's move on to the next slide. So this is just to explain to you how we designed the conference and how we moved about and how we reaped out in terms of being impactful. Initially, the event is a very technical event, but we decided at the level of the CBA to reframe it into two aspects. We had the technical training, as you can see in the first one. So that was more for capacity building internally for the veterinarians, for the technical person. And over that, it was a 3-day workshop along with all the international experts. And the focus was on themes like animal care, capacity building, social learning. The press was also invited during these events because it was very important for them to see what is being shared with a local population from the international experts. The second aspect, which was the one that we really wanted to happen in Mauritius, was public scientific opening. We did that through an inauguration event. So the event that the audience that we chose was selective and it was purposeful. It was a very eclectic audience because we ensured that we had private sectors, universities, PhD students from the biosector, advisors. And I think one of the key person that was very important for us is that we had the advocacy, and the key speakers were the Minister of Tertiary Education, Science and Innovation. And that was very impactful because the minister advocated for the industry and how it was important to move to a research sector. He clearly spelled out actually about how the island could be a potential to become a global sector of biomedical excellence. And having the press over there, having the key person from the industry, it was very important to have him as advocate. So as well, one of the key speakers was Dr. Melanie Graham. She was from the University of Minnesota. And actually, she was extremely happy to be in Mauritius, just to mention, because when she is in Minnesota, she has been using the primates from Mauritius to do the research. And being here in Mauritius to actually see all the primates that have been used, have been very useful to her. So she managed to talk to the press as well. Let's just go to the last slides. So thanks to the advocacy of the international keynote speakers, what improved is that the media, they really got a different vision of who we are. So for once, we had a chance to explain about science. We had a chance to talk about the social value that we are bringing, how we have shaped the media. I mean, it was something that was more deliberate media presence, that instead of it being reactive, we managed to shape the conversation from there. So the debate, as I think we mentioned, is only just the beginning, but this event, along with the adverts, with the communication that we are doing, has sincerely set something on a more serious tone for Mauritius. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny and Anupa. I'm sure that we all learn a lot about this island, Mauritius, this morning. Thank you so much. It's very impressive, the importance of this small island for the biomedical research worldwide. Thank you. Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce the next speaker. She's my friend from Brazil, Dr. Karina Kriwer. She's a veterinarian and vice coordinator of the Animal Experimentation Center at the University of Brasilia here in Brazil. She's a member of the Brazilian Association of Laboratory Animal Science, SBCAL, serves also as the University Animal Care and Use Committee, and is part of the BRISA collaboration. It's a Brazilian initiative dedicated to reproducibility, preclinical systematic reviews, and meta-analysis. Thank you, Karina, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Marcel, and thank you to EARA and ICLAS for the invitation. It is a pleasure to bring a Brazilian perspective on this global dialogue, and I will present the current situation in Brazil and what I see as the next steps toward greater transparency and openness in our country. Next, please. So, in many countries, communication about the use of animals in research has shifted from a historically defensive posture to more proactive, transparent engagement. Next. Beyond building public trust, transparency creates more room for accountability, improved animal welfare, a stronger culture of care, better application of the 3Rs, and higher quality research. Transparency also helps institutions improve their practices, learn from challenges, and make their progress more visible. After more than a decade of openness initiatives in several countries, I think one central message has become clear. Transparency is not external to science. It is part of good science. So, where does Brazil stand on this journey? Let me begin with what is most consolidated. Brazil's regulatory system is grounded in the EARA law, approved in 2008, which regulates the use of animals in teaching and research. The law created CONSEA, the National Council for the Control of Animal Experimentation, linked to the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation. CONSEA is a multidisciplinary body that brings together representatives from government, the scientific community, and animal protection organizations. It is responsible for formulating national rules and guidelines through normative resolutions covering different areas of animal care, use, oversight, and new approach methodologies. Those normative resolutions allow the system to be updated without changing the law itself. Before approval, draft guidelines go through public consultation so different sectors of society can contribute. Next. So in Brazil, every institution that uses animals has three main responsibilities. The first one, it must have an animal care and use committee, which is called in Portuguese SEUA. the SEWA reviews, approves, and oversees the animal use protocols, and it must also include a representative from a legally established animal protection organization. In addition, the institution must remain accredited and submit annual reports with data on animal use. Today, there are more than 1,000 institutions accredited across Brazil. Next, please. These data were included in Brazil's first consolidated national report on animal use, and this report brings together data from more than 11.3 million animals reported across over 5 years. The data are organized by species, purpose, and region. Most of the animals were used in research and 4% in teaching, and the largest groups were birds at about 34%, followed by fish, and then rodents at about 18%. But public reporting is only one part of transparency. Next, please. Openness also requires institutional coordination, communication, and public dialogue. So this movement is still under construction in Brazil, but it is already visible in many local initiatives. Some institutions, such as Fiocruz and Butantan, have long tradition in the country of bringing science closer to society through museums, educational activities, and accessible open science perspectives. SBK and other scientific and professional societies are gradually creating spaces to discuss openness through conferences, international exchanges, and social media. And at local level, some SEWAs, animal facilities, and research labs are working on guided visits, websites, social media, and other resources to explain why animals are used and how animal welfare is protected. Those initiatives do not yet form a coordinated national framework, and somehow they are still closer to science communication in general, but they help create the visibility and the public understanding. So I'd like to share now 2 initiatives we have developed at the University of Brasília. The first one is Coadjuvantes da Ciência, a podcast, which can be translated to supporting actors of science. And it was created as a space to discuss animal research in a plural and accessible way, because animal research involves different values and sometimes conflicting perspectives. Our goal was not only explaining scientific concepts, but bringing different voices into the conversation. So the first season included 8 episodes covering topics such as regulatory framework, animal welfare science, animal rights, and public health. Our team believes that active listening and respectful dialogue are essential parts of building a culture of openness. Next, please. The second initiative is called Biotério na Escola, or Exploring Animal Facility at School. That is a community engagement project that brings discussions about animal research for children and especially teenagers. And our goal is to promote scientific literacy and understanding of the responsible use of animals in research, while encouraging critical thinking, empathy, and interest in science. Our team is currently developing the learning resources, which will include the stations on ethics, REARs, welfare, and NAMs, as well as legal models of animal facilities, virtual tour, and educational apps. So we believe students' questions and perspectives also help us understand public perceptions and improve how we communicate. So how can Brazil foster a broader culture of transparency and openness? We already have important foundations, a strong regulatory framework, national reporting, and a growing set of transparency transparent initiatives. The next step is articulation, coordination, so connecting authorities, scientific societies, and institutions. We need to improve our communication capacity and training and develop shared principles for transparency and openness. So we can learn a lot from other countries' experiences and start to bring these pieces that we already have together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Karina. So we were in Africa, and then we crossed the Atlantic to South America, and now we're gonna continue to cross the Pacific, and we go to Asia. We will have two participants from Asian countries, and it's my pleasure to introduce first one. I met Dr. Shakit Devan 2 years ago in India. He's a veterinarian and a PhD specialized in pharmacology and toxicology, and is a board certified veterinarian in laboratory animal medicine. With over 2 decades of experience, he has been actively involved in animal research, vivarium operations, and regulatory responsibilities, and has presented talks at national and international forums. He also authored 20 publications and 2 book chapters, and currently he's serving as secretary of the Laboratory Animal Scientists Association in India. So thank you, Dr. Shakti.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Marcel, for the nice introduction. So this is Dr. Shakti Devan. I am presenting about the transparency in animal research in India, the global dialogue of the EARA and ICLAS. Thanks for giving this opportunity to represent India from Asia. So a small disclaimer here is like, whatever the information I deal here is like, it's a general information, not to represent any kind of organization or the affiliates. Next slide, please. So the lab animals are used in scientific purposes in India, mainly from the research institutions, universities, CRO, pharma, and biotech. The focus mainly from the basic and the fundamental research, drug discovery research, toxicological evaluation, vaccine testing, antibody production, and quality control products or medicines, and medical devices evaluation, and the safety evaluation of environmental chemicals. So these are the broad category what we have captured here, where the animals are used. Next slide, please. So why transparency matters in animal research? This is something important to consider. So it mainly builds public trust. That's one of the aspects to consider. And it ensures the ethical treatment of animals used in research. And moreover, it gives the scientific validity and the reproducibility of the data. That is other aspect. And the acceptance of data and strengthen the regulatory compliance that we need to consider. And mainly promotes the accountability and the 3 R's principles more and more. And it also helps the align with the global scientific norms as well as the collaboration with other institute and other organizations. And it also mainly supports the informed policy decisions. So this will give a guidance. And moreover, this gives mainly the countries' research remain credible and comparable. So these are the areas why the transparency is something important from this context. Next slide, please. So what are some of the challenges of transparency in animal research from India perspective? So limited public disclosure because not all the data is available in the public. And the other thing is like confidential, commercial and intellectual property of data that is generated from the private organizations. So this is not something available. And a limited publication of data generated from the institutions because not all the data is published and only limited data is available. And other thing to consider here is like unavailability of open access platform. That's one of the area reason where the data the transparency is slightly missing. And animal studies data is maintained within the institution or submitted to the client or even the collaborator. So it's mainly from the private funded projects. That's one of the reason some level of transparency the data is not available in the public. Next slide, please. So now we'll see about the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. We call it as a PC Act in 1960. This was amended in the year 1998 and 2001, under which the Animal Welfare Board of India is a statutory advisory body established in 1962 under Section 4 of PC Act. The main functions include like promoting animal welfare and advising the Government of India and overseeing enforcement of animal protection laws. These are some of the functions of this Animal Welfare Board of India. Next slide, please. So the PCA Act is implemented through the Committee for Control and Supervision of Experiments on Animals. So that's called the CCSCA. This is established in the year 1964 under Section 15(1) under Chapter 4. The CCSA is currently functioning under the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India. So the functions include like registration to animal facility and inspection of laboratories. That's one of the other activity what they do, and approval of animal experiments, either smaller animal or larger animals, and the enforcement of animal welfare centers. These are some of the functions managed by the CCSA from central point of view, from federal government. Next slide, please. So the transparency in animal research in India is primarily governed by the CCSA, and the CCSA also more and more emphasis on the 3 Rs, like a replacement, use of alternative methods whenever possible, and the reduction, mainly the use of minimum number of animals, that's other aspect, and refinement, minimize the pain and distress during the experimentation. So these are the 3 are highly emphasized by the CCSA. Next slide, please. So under CCSA, the Institutional Animal Ethics Committee, we call it as IAEC. It's a 9-member committee, where 5 members from the institution and 4 members from nominated from the deputed from the Government of India. So the composition includes like a chairperson, member secretary, 2 scientists from different biological discipline and a biological scientist, and the 4 member mainly from the main nominee, link nominee, scientists from outside the institute, and the social aware nominee. So these are the composition, and among which 6 members are needed for conducting any kind of meeting. So the IAEC is mainly responsible for approving and monitoring all the research protocol involving small animal, like from the mice, rat, hamster up to rabbit. And in case of a large animal like a dog, goat, and sheep, primates, they review and recommend to the central committee, the federal agency, federal government. I think the committee, they review and approve for the large animals. Next slide, please. This is a CCSA website, and currently the registered establishments in India 1,736. That's the current status, and among which is 57 are GLP certified, and the EARA accredited almost 36. So mainly pharma, biotech, CRO, academic and universities, and the state and central institute also part of this actually. Next slide, please. Principles adopted by the CCSA. The principle, there are 5 principles. The main first principle is like experiment on animals must be carried out for the purpose of advancement by the new discovery of physiological knowledge. That's something important aspect to consider. And the principle 2 talks about the animals must be from the lowest phylogenetic scale, and moreover, this also emphasizes more on minimum number of animals. And wherever feasible, alternatives also should be considered with the sound justification. These are the principle 2 from the CCSA. Next slide, please. The principle 3 talks about mainly the pain and distress during the experiment. This can be alleviated from the any agents from analgesic or anesthesia or sedation. Anything can be given. That's principle 3. Principle 4 mainly deals with the investigator. They are the responsible people after the aftercare. Especially this is applicable for only the large animals. So it's a part of the rehabilitation process. Next slide, please. So the principle 5 mainly about the living conditions of the animal. It may be from the housing, feeding, and the care of all animals. That must be directed by the veterinarian or the scientist trained from this relevant field. And moreover, in all cases, like a veterinary care shall be provided as necessary. That's something important to consider. Some of the key aspect to take away from here is like ethical review. If you say it's there, and the animal use statistics, yes, it is available, but that is confined within the institutional as well as the regulatory. And the public project summaries, yes, it is available, but it's limited, not at the greater extent like other countries. And a strong emphasis on the 3 Rs, yes, it is available for other countries. And the public engagement initiatives that I could say like it's moderate and still developing. There is a scope for the improvement. Next slide, please. When it comes to the institutional responsibilities, they ensure that regulatory compliance as well as the communication between the animal users and regulatory authorities are maintained. That's something important things to consider. And the CCSA guideline also more emphasis on the education and training of the IAEC members as well as the veterinarian, scientists, or the animal care personnel. So these are the important things to consider as part of the CCSA. Next slide, please. So some of the ongoing improvements in India, mainly the stronger ethical review on reporting systems that is managed by the CCSEA, and increased awareness on animal welfare. That's more and more it's happening. And other thing is like promotion of alternative testing methods or new approach methods. Now these all the things are available. There are many people are following, and many agencies are also dealing with that. And more recently, the digital record keeping as well as the monitoring that is also in practice, and the public access to research summaries, especially the abstract, other things are available, if not the full data. And enhanced institutional accountability, that's also more and more increased. This all managed by the within the institution and outside the institution as well. And the collaboration with the global organizations, that's something happening with the national level, regional, as well as the international level. So over the years, what we see here is like more and more the transparency is increasing, openness and the transparency among the researchers and the organizations, even regulators and the society as a whole. Next slide, please. So this is a summary slide, and some of the takeaways from India is like, the India has established regulations on animal experiment that is managed from the CCSEA. Animal research remains important for scientific advancement. That's we are considering, and promote wider adoption of alternatives by stakeholders. That's also happening with the various agencies. And enhance the transparency in animal ethical as well as the human treatment of animal. That's also happening. And openness and public engagement is something essential, but this is one area. There are some amount of, I think, large amount of scope for the improvement also needed. And collaboration with the professional organizations in this field, like that's what the regional from multiple countries we also collaborate, and we work with them. And the more important thing consider here is like the balancing scientific progress with animal welfare is something crucial. So this is one forum where the meeting is conducted, like the dissemination of knowledge from one organization to other organization, the global information, this is also disseminated within India, either through the webinar or seminars or even the conference or national meetings. So these a lot of things are happening with the active collaboration with the other international organizations. So with that, I thank you everyone for your participation. I thank the EARA and as well as the ICLAS for providing this opportunity. Thank you.
So we remain in Asia, and we move a little bit east and go to Japan, where I have a pleasure to introduce Dr. Shihiro Koshimoto. And he's the director of Frontier Science Research Center at the University of Miyazaki in Japan. He's a member of External Validation Committee at Human Resource Development Committee of the Japanese Association of Laboratory Animal Science. He also served as a board member of the Japanese Association of Laboratory Animal Facilities of National University Corporations in Japan. So thank you, Dr. Koshimoto.
The first two are the government agencies, the next, the Ministry of Education, and MOE, the Ministry of Environment. And the next two are the Council of University Animal Facilities, JARA, and the National University, and the JARAP, the private university. And the last one is the Academic Society, JARAS. Japan, the basic concept regarding welfare of animals is in general established by the law, while the specific provisions of laboratory animals are set forth in the standard for the laboratory animal under the law. On the other hand, the fundamental guideline for animal experiment set forth the rule for the appropriate usage of animal in research. Scientific institutions, including university, must establish their own system for conducting animal experiment in accordance with these rules. This Japanese framework is referred to as the institutional management system for animal experiment. The first step in operating this system is to set up the management structure within each institution as shown in Part A. And next, as Part B, there is a need for an element of openness, self-inspection of these conditions and disclosing the information and undergoing the external validation. So regarding the information disclosure, with the guidance of MEXT, JARAN and JARAP announced strongly recommended the disclosure of these items in 2013. For example, this is my university's website, and like this. Currently, much of the academic community is disclosing in accordance with this practice. The institutional management system undergoes the external validation to openly demonstrate its appropriateness to society from a professional perspective. Here I will explain the basis and structure of the external validation system in Japan. In Japan, external validation regarding the proper care of animals is required under the standard. And concerning the validity of the scientific usage of animal is required under the fundamental guidelines. The validation system for academia has jointly been launched by JARAN and JARAP in 2009, and JARAS has taken it over 2016. This illustration visualizes the concept of the external validation system in Japan, in which external expert reviews matters from the perspective of both animal welfare and animal sciences. The validation survey at each institution is conducted by the team selected from 100 JARAS expert board members. The report created based on the survey is reviewed by JARA's external validation committee, and the final report is completed after the exchange of views. Board members received a special education and training from the Human Resource Development Committee, a separate body within JARAS. And this operation of this committee, supported by National Bioresource Project, NBRP, and as a MEXT. We have been supported from NBRP since 2016, and this project have enabled to expand and enhance our validation organization, resulting in the validation participation rate rising from 25% to 67% in 10 years. Furthermore, with the support of NBRP, we have been working to disseminate information in various ways. One example is a video resource that explains the basis of Japanese institutional management system. Currently, the English and the Chinese version are available on JARA's website as well as the Japanese version. Let's take a quick look at these contents. It is currently being utilized as standard educational materials at many universities and research institutions.
Animal experiments have played important roles in understanding life phenomena and have been applied to medical science.
And we are also developing a similar video material to provide a clear and accurate understanding of the current situation regarding land.
Prize in physiology.
Yeah. To raise awareness of the societal contribution of animal experiment, we annually produce a poster series titled "What are Animal Experiment For?" And more than 1,000 copies are sent to institutions, including high school, every year. And they are also available from the JARA's website as PDF data. And in the context of the replacement, we developed the device for the restraint and dissection of virtual rat using VR headset system. It is loaned to institutions such as universities for use in introductory veterinary training, and it has been well received by the general person during hands-on demonstration at the couple of universities' open campus event. And as you know, animal facility are generally difficult to open to the public, primarily due to the need for the strict microbiological control. To alleviate this condition to some extent, we have created the facility tour video using 360-degree camera. We have been utilizing it in settings such as an introductory lecture for younger students or the beginner user for the facility. And we are also producing the tutorial video to create such 360-degree tour video easily and at low cost for each facility. I think it is necessary to continue the considering way to make the situation regarding the animal facility more open in Japan. Okay, let me summarize today's discussion. While the need for openness is becoming recognized in Japan, a few organizations have taken progressive steps to address this issue. JARAS is currently engaged in several initiatives with support from the NBRP. We intend to continue our activities to promote a proper understanding of animal experiment while sharing information with all of you guys around the world. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shihiro. And now we move back to America, but this time to North America, where I have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Lucie Coté from Canada. She is the director of the Animal Resource Division at the Research Institute of McGill University Health Center in Montreal, and past president of the Canadian Association of Laboratory Animal Medicine. Dr. Coté recently led the development of the Canadian Transparency Agreement on Animal-Based Science, which was officially launched on June 8, 2026. Today, she will share Canada's experience in advancing transparency and openness in animal-based science. Thank you, Dr. Coté.
Thank you, Marcel, and thank you for organizing this important webinar and inviting Canada in the discussion. So I'm, as mentioned in my intro, my name is Lucie Coté, so I'm a veterinarian, and I'm working at the Research Institute of the McGill University Health Center, which is an hospital-based research institute. Next slide, please, Nuno. So just rapidly, this is our research institute in Montreal in the province of Quebec. So we have 8 research programs, and we work in biomedical research, supporting physician and researcher in finding better treatment for patients in different fields of biomedical research. Next slide, please. So I started being interested in communicating more and opening up on what we're doing and our role in laboratory animal medicine when I started my mandate as president of the Canadian Association for Laboratory Animal Medicine. So that was in 2023. So at this is the association, just to give you a little bit of context. This is the association that regroups all the veterinarians working in research, testing, and teaching in Canada. And so we thought that it would be interesting and in line with our mandate to create a transparency agreement that would network all the research institutions in Canada that have animal care program or work with use animal in their research program. So you see here is a photo from the signature of our transparency agreement. This is our group of KLAM representative, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in my in the following slides. So a little bit of context, as my colleague did before. Canada, as you know, is a very vast country, but we're not very high population. So this brings a challenge in our networking effort and our communication effort, especially since we have 6 different time zones. So it's very hard to capture what's happening in our country, and that's why we thought the transparency agreement would be a good way to join everyone. Also, another challenge is that and opportunity is that we have 2 official languages, so French and English. So all the documentation that we produce need to be in both official language. Next slide, please. So one particularity of our country, we're a very research-intensive country, but we do not have a Canadian legislation that overview animal experimentation. The animal experimentation falls under provincial jurisdiction, and it's only the province of Ontario that has a regulation. So it's the Animals for Research Act. For research facility and licensing. We do have, though, some area in which the Canadian government would have influence over animal-based science, and this is the Criminal Code, the Health of Animal Acts, and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency regulation. Next slide, please. So given that that context, the decision was in 1968 for the federal government to fund and create the Canadian Council on Animal Care, which is our body that oversees all animal-based science in Canada, produce standard, provide training, and certify institution. So at the moment, we have 205 institutions that are CCAC certified. Next slide. So this is just one slide to show you that the Canadian Council on Animal Care has increased their effort to be more transparent with the public in the past years. We've always been, and I don't know since when, but we've typically the CCAC has been producing the animal data report yearly. So and it's published on their website, so it's available to the public. And so we can see, yes, we can see the number of animals that were used by CCAC certified institution, the category of invasiveness that you can see at the bottom left, and also the purpose of animal use category. And if you want to know more, I included some QR code across the presentation, so you can go see the CCAC website. CCAC has always been very generous in sharing and transparent in sharing their guideline, their policy. There's a lot of volunteers that work with the CCAC Secretariat to produce this document, and it's available in French and English. So, so this is a good example of transparency from the CCAC. Next slide, please. So in 2024, the CCAC decided to commission an opinion poll on animal research with the Canadian public. And the information that we got, I mean, I think it's limited information. It's a small portion of the population that were surveyed, but still it was very positive in terms of being open from the public to the use of animal in research. So as you can see, 74% believe that it's acceptable to use animal for medical and scientific purpose when no alternative are available. What I thought was really interesting at the time is that 83% believe that Canadian institutions using animal in science should be more transparent about their use. So that was kind of it's a big proportion of the respondents that were sending a clear signal that they were open to receive more information, and they didn't know exactly where to get it. So that was a signal that maybe we needed to do a little bit more in Canada. Next slide. So in 2024, so that was in the summer of 2024, with my colleagues from the Canadian Association from Lab Animal Medicine, we reached out to Kirk and his team at EARA, and we created this working group with representatives from the academic institution, industry. There was a representative from EARA, from CLAM, from also our Canadian Association from Lab Animal Science Association in Canada. And we didn't reinvent the wheel. We worked a lot with other transparency agreements that were available worldwide, and especially in Belgium was a good example because we had the French and English, so that made it easier for us to start. And so we worked on our commitment. We had it reviewed, and so basically, for those of you who don't know what transparency agreement on animal-based science is really commitment for institutions that join this agreement to be more open and to discuss the work that they do in research, in testing, in teaching with animal model, and talk about also the alternative. And so the first commitment was really is to acknowledge the involvement in animal research, be clear about when, how, and why we use animal in science. The second commitment is a commitment to enhance communication with the public and the media about the use of animal in science. The third one is to provide opportunity for the public to learn about animal use in science, to also present all the work that the Canadian Council on Animal Care does as a national oversight system. So most of the public in Canada are not even aware at the moment of this framework. So we're starting to be more open to discuss in the media and with the general public. And the fourth commitment is really to report on progress. So the institution that joined this agreement and all the organization, they need to show that they made some effort every year to reach out. And so that's the fourth commitment. Our transparency agreement is on the CLAM website, so it's available for everyone to access. Next slide, please. So this was our launch. So it's a few weeks ago. It was very exciting because there was a lot of interest. The CLAS conference, typically it's our annual symposium in laboratory animal. It was in Toronto, and most of the attendees of the conference joined the event, which was right after the last conference at 5 o'clock in the evening. And so it was very surprising. We needed to bring chair in the room. We needed to, so there was a lot of interest. Kirk Leach was there to do a little introduction, and also the executive director of the CCAC. And we had at the beginning 18 signatories, as you can see with the logo on the screen. So it's a good start for this type of initiative, and we hope that it's going to grow. Already we have a 19 signatory just this week. So it's very positive. And we also had a press release, which was picked by some media, mostly in Quebec. So the City News from Montreal published something. So that was a very good exposure for our initiative. Next slide, please. And just to finish, I wanted to show some of the initiatives that are the signatory of our transparency agreement I've put in place. So first, on the left, you see it's our institution, the institution where I work. We do open house for the family and friends of our employees at the Research Institute, and we want to open it. We want to do it yearly and open it up to the general public. So this is one initiative that institution I've been doing. On the right, this is just an example of stories that organization can put on their website. So this is another hospital-based research institute in Montreal, the CRCHUM, which report on their researcher discovery with the help of zebrafish. On the left, this is an example of reaching out in our local community. So the university veterinarian at Queen University was participated in an interview and a news article on the colony of hemophiliac dogs that they have at Queen University to support human health and animal health. So the article is available also if you're interested in this subject. And on the right, an example of a website from University of Calgary that is open, that provide all the information from their institution regarding their use of animal and their use of alternative. Next slide. So this I'm very proud of, because this is really surprising. We've been, for a long time, institution were decided not to talk about animal research. And all of a sudden, in the past 2 years, I think maybe it's a context. I heard my colleagues in Mauritius talking about more serious media attention. We see it too in Canada. I think we see it everywhere. It's a global discussion, but we were very surprised, and it was a good signal that our national media, the Canadian Broadcast Company and Radio-Canada, did some segment and in the radio and on TV especially on the subject of animal use in science. So this was really a first in Canada, and especially the television program on the right. If you speak French, our colleagues in France were very impressed, because it was one of the most balanced TV segment that they've seen from the reaction that I got. So I think we're advancing very fast, and the transparency agreement will help us to network in our large country with the difficulty that we have to meet and connect together. So with the transparency agreement, we'll be able to discuss with researcher, with veterinarian, with communication specialists from different institutions across Canada. And we hope that it's going to help us to provide more information to the public and counteract the vacuum that is left sometimes because of other organizations taking the lead in bringing information that is not always scientifically confirmed. So I will leave it at this, and I'll be happy to take any question during the panel session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Thank you to all speakers for these very diverse perspectives on transparency. Will be open for panel discussions. So if you have any questions for the speakers, please do it at the Q&A section of this webinar. You can find it on the top menu. So leave the questions there and we'll try to address all of them. For now, I will give word to our moderator, Kirk Leach.
Thank you, Nuno, and thank you for this very contributions, a kind of global snapshot, I think, of openness. I'm going to go back to the beginning, I think, and the question for Anupa and Jenny. In this world, Mauritius is really known as a country that breeds animals for research. In your presentation, you outlined that you're planning to build a research infrastructure and capacity to create a kind of industry in Mauritius. Do you think this will help in improving public understanding and acceptance of animals and research in Mauritius?
Thank you, Kirk. So we're planning on doing it. We would like to do it. So both Jenny and I, we represent the private sector and not the government. It is a very, very, very sensitive topic. We have a colleague here from India, and the population in Mauritius is a lot of Hindus, and you do have a monkey god, and the fact that we focus on non-human primates, it's political, it's societal, it's religious, so it's something that requires very careful navigation of the policy space. This is my personal conviction, and maybe quite a few in the industry as well, who have to work on openness. The fact that we don't see the science makes it so far away. You know, the images that you have is only of the breeding, of the exportation, the crating, so you don't really see the science. And I do think that, and our communication strategy has been a lot about that, is how do we compress the space between what they see, the breeding, and the actual science, which then goes to the cure. And I think EARA has done a lot of work about, you know, remembering that at the end of the day, it is about putting patients at the center. So in that logic, and that's how we are tailoring our openness narrative and initiatives, is in the absence of any research right now, how do we compress that space? If we do get research, and we were just listening to all these examples, and it's such a great initiative to hear examples that we don't usually hear about, like from Brazil, from Japan, from Canada, and all this openness is something that maybe we should advocate more for with our government, and sort of explain that it doesn't just come with the science, it comes with the openness and the transparency. This is the direction, and we'd be very happy to have the support of a lot of the colleagues here to help us if ever we do need that. In Canada was great because we are also very bilingual here, and a lot of communication happens in French, so I think that was great. I hope I answered your question. I don't know if Jenny wants to add anything.
You did. Onto India. Shakti, you outlined in your presentation there's a strong oversight structure in India and quite advanced institutional ethical committees that oversee the use of animals in research. But there seems to be not a lot of public disclosure talking about the animals research to the public. What do you think needs to be done in India to improve that?
It's a good question, Crick. So, as described here, you know, it's a strong ethical review is in place, and I think the informations are flowing from the institutions to the central, that's the CCSCA. We have the portal online with the upload information, either the meeting or the whatever the just projects, even the smaller animal as well as the large animal, but that's there within the institution as well as from the central point of view. But as you rightly said, from public point of view, the data is not available. That's one aspect, but there is a scope for improvement that also we are working on it. And one way to look at it is here is like, you know, the main thing is like the awareness in the public. There is a gap between the researchers, the institution, the public. That's the one thing we need to reduce that. And more we need to educate in the transparent manner why research is being done. I think in animal research, and what it leads to, what all those things we need to take it up. Some amount of education and outreach we may need to do. Either it may come from the government or from the institutional level. Institutional point of view, there are some of the organizations. I know that because they do openly talk, and the collaborators. Not only that, and even with the employees, even other folks as well. But one of the aspects to consider here is the national associations, the professional associations. They come together at the regional or national level as well as the international level. That is one of the forum where we can they kind of disseminate the information such a way that the gap can be reduced, so that the people more and more they get kind of awareness. So besides this strong ethical review, but it's important for us to make sure that the transparency, openness, something is important. That should go to the common public, so that the whatever work we do, that is for some of the good cause, something like that. They have to understand. That's another thing I just wanted to tell from India perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Now to Brazil. Sounds like the World Cup. If Brazil was still in the World Cup, that's a cruel joke. I know. You outlined that you were kind of very clear in your presentation that there's not a lot yet in Brazil of kind of institutional openness. You highlighted a few examples. How do you think ICLAS and EARA could help Brazilian institutions move in a direction that countries like Spain and Portugal are in? What is needed, do you think?
Thanks, Kirk. So I think in Brazil, we have a lack of communication infrastructure, because many Brazilian universities do not have yet communication teams, policies, and or specific strategies for discussing animal research. And then I think EARA and ICLAS could help us with proper training, because we can learn a lot from the process of coordinating actions and taking the stuffs step by step. So I think it will be a valuable help. And because in Brazil, we are still very cautious and mostly communicate that we follow the law, and we know this is not enough. So, but we already have those initiatives, and I think we are ready to move on and start to connect those actors.
Thank you. To Japan, Chiro, you were very clear about the strong ethical legal case that's made for animal research in Japan. You highlighted some institutional websites which explained how they meet these kind of legal requirements. But again, there weren't that many examples of openness with the public. Again, what do you think EARA and ICLAS could do to help the Japanese research sector make small steps in being more open?
Thanks. I think that we know that we must take a leading role in Japan, because we are at the front line of the animal research. But unfortunately, we lack the specialized communication training or the experiences as a spokesperson. So we need to information of who take a leading position and how to do it. So your suggestion is very important for us and useful. Thank you very much.
Yes, I mean, EARA and ICLAS would be very happy to help JLAS improve how it communicates.
Okay, thank you very much.
Lucy, the Canadian Transparency Agreement happened very, very quickly. Could you explain, other than your brilliant work, why that happened and how it happened?
Your brilliant work as well. Well, I think there's like I mentioned in my presentation, there's kind of a context with what's happening globally and in the US as well. We saw more interest, as I mentioned, from the media. I think institutions see that they can't keep the same the same way of acting towards what they're doing. They need to change and be proactive, because we see a lot of interest from different organizations to provide bad press about the work of researcher and biomedical research and research in general. And it's kind of a how can I say, survival mode at the moment. And we were pushed to be fast and do something because we've never seen that much attention from groups or the media. And we realize it's probably our fault because we've let it grow that way, and we haven't been proactive in communicating and the importance of what we're doing. And even there's still some people that feels that they don't want to talk about it. It doesn't look good. We need to change that up in that way of thinking from our research community, so that they're proud of talking about what they're achieving with animal model and with the best care for the animals. So I think it's really a perfect storm where we were pushed to do something very fast to be able to defend ourselves and defend ourselves with our government as well, because as you know, in Ontario there's a legislation, the Animal for Research Act, that now will probably ban the use of pet animal, dogs and cats, in research for invasive research. So this is really coming from political aspects, and the public has a big role to do with supporting or not this type of discourse. So,
okay, thank you. I've got one question for all of you, so have a think about it. This will be the last thing when I come to the end, so think about it. So my question to all of you is, what is the first step you all want to take or think you should take to be more open about animal research? So that's the last thing I'll ask you, but I have a few questions in the chat, first of all. So Veronica from Slovakia makes a very good point, which is that quite often researchers have a full-time job, and their job is to do research, or if you work in policy, your full-time job is policy. How is it possible to make time to be involved in public engagement activity or communicating animal research when you have to work to pay your rent, I guess she's trying to say. So is it possible to make time, and how do you do it? To anybody?
Thank you, Kirk. I guess I can not exactly answer that, but I should say that we are talking about communication, and we need to communicate better among us. And what ICLAS can do is to communicate with the basic members of ICLAS are Laboratory Animal Science Association and some national members, and we need to together with EARA communicate with them the importance of this initiative of being transparent and being openness about animal use, and especially it's not only there is a science behind that. It's not only to communicate, but how to communicate. It's important to understand that it's not just prepare like a website or social media, but to do that with a good strategy, and that's what EARA can contribute to that, and so we can use the Laboratory Animal Science Associations to do that.
One of the questions or comments in the chat, which I think is true, is that quite often, and I think this is clear about some of the presentations, quite often we say openness is about being open about the legal requirements to do animal research. So we say we do animal research because we're allowed to do it. And the comment was that maybe we need to trust the public more. What we're saying is we're allowed to do it, so we will do it. And they're kind of saying in the comment that maybe we should go beyond that and trust the public to give them more information to explain why we're doing it. Not just that we can do it, but there's a reason to do it. And I think that's one of the lessons EARA kind of learned, I think, from our earliest days. So let me go around all the speakers. So if you had a magic wand, you had one wish, were you able to tomorrow do something in your country to improve openness and animal research, what would it be? So I'll start with Africa.
Jenny, magic wand? I think is to have more FaceTime with politicians. That would be a good start for us.
Yeah, I think that currently with the other stakeholders, I think we're on the right track, and one of the most concern for us is in terms of the political parties, the policymakers. That this would be to touch them with our magic wand and make the magic happen.
Good. Brazil.
I think because Brazil is a large and diverse country, we have a lot of issues on trying to coordinate those actions. So I think it will be wonderful if tomorrow every institution in Brazil was ready to know how to communicate. But then I think openness can start small. And I think we can start in our institutions, bringing the right researchers and persons and communication actors to try figure out how to deal with it.
Okay. India.
So from my perspective for the India, I think we need to frame a theme. From that, need to disseminate from the Lab Animal Science Association. That's a non-governmental scientific association. That's one of the activity we can do through the national meeting. Thereafter, if there are help needed, we can also get help support from the government agencies or government institutions or from the research institutions or the universities. Not only that, we need to emphasize more and more with the regional centers, not the centers, the institutions from all part of the country. That's one of the effort. That's a greater effort, but that one thing I could try. I think if there are a lot of like-minded people, so I can go and talk to them so that we can disseminate the information. For that, we have to make the theme and we have to disseminate. That's what I just wanted to convey from India perspective. But that is doable, yes.
Thank you very much. Japan?
Okay, this is what we have already discussing, but we are planning to launch an information sharing platform for a wide range of the institutions and even related industries. Now, maybe at the start it will be the very small scale, but we need to expand that, and I'm trying.
Good, and we're happy to help. And finally, Lucy, Canada.
Yes, I was just thinking for Canada, and something I'd like to do when I visited other country and other conference. We have two associations, National Association of Lab Animal Medicine and Science, and we work a bit in silo with the research community. And I think that's really too bad. And we should have more membership from the researcher that, do the research, find alternative, communicate with the veterinary care and technical personnel, because our conference are mostly attended by animal health technician, manager, veterinarian, and we're not to be convinced, and we're not the one necessarily talking to the public or the politician about our research or our grant proposal and these type of things. So I think we need to work more with the research community and invite them in our conferences. And
thank you, Lucy, the final words. So really interesting conversation. Thank you for our speakers. Some of you got out of bed early, some of you stayed up late. So thank you for your time. Thank you again for Marcel for helping us do this very interesting webinar. If you want any more information about EACLAS and EARA, both organizations are ready to help you in this journey of openness. Please contact us and look out for more EARA and EACLAS webinars in the future. So thank you very much.